This morning, there are new concerns about planes that are making Air Force pilots sick. The problem could be worse than originally thought. The Air Force is now confirming that F-22 pilots are 10 times more likely to get sick in the air than pilots of any other planes. Pilots have said they've become dizzy, confused, and nauseated in the cockpit, symptoms that seem to resemble oxygen deprivation or hypoxia. Congressman Kinzinger released this new information from the Air Force. He's also a pilot serving as a major in the Air National Guard. Nice to see you, sir. Thank you for being with us. The F-22 pilots, thank you, appreciate that. 10 times more likely. That's a pretty stunning statistic, but still the Air Force says that it is statistically low. It sounds high to me. It's not a high number, you don't think?
No, I think it is high. And, you know, look, the reality is every incident that happens per 100,000 hours that you see, and it's something around 26 is what we figured. You know, that's each time you put a pilot in an airplane in a vulnerable situation because potentially you have a pilot who, at the beginning stages of hypoxia-like symptoms, really can't, you know, think things through, has a hard time making those judgment calls. I've been hypoxic myself in training, and it's very significant.
What does it feel like?
You really do lose your cognitive ability. So, well, you do this to recognize your symptoms. Everybody has different symptoms. For me, actually, I start finding everything pretty funny, and but then you have a hard time. So if you're given a very basic math problem, what's 5 plus 6, you really can't think it through, or you can't put, you know, a triangle piece in one of those triangle holes like those children's toys. So it really begins to degenerate your cognitive ability until, you know, it's the beginning stages of passing out and ultimately dying.
Wow. So they've been focusing a lot of the investigation on the vests that you have to wear in the pressure suits. What exactly are those vests? What do they do?
Well, its purpose is basically to prevent overexposure of lungs in a high-altitude situation in case of depressurization. And what they found in testing this, the Navy dive unit, which is something both Senator Warner and I have asked for them to bring into the process, what we find out is in many cases those vests were actually failing in high-G scenarios. So at this point, it seems like the most likely place to pursue. But the big thing we want to say is, you know, look, the Air Force needs to pursue all avenues of what could be causing this problem, because each fix is not a short you know, thing to fix. It takes a while to get around to conclusion in all these planes, and each time these go up, we potentially put our pilots and our assets, these are American-owned airplanes, at risk, and that's something that we need to really take seriously.
But how does it explain the folks on the ground crew also saying that they're experiencing these symptoms?
That's a big concern I have, because there are maintainers, I think 5, that have come forward and said they experience the same symptoms. Pilots have experienced this without going basically up in the air. They've experienced it after takeoff. So that's where I'm a little concerned that we make sure that we're not pigeonholing ourselves and pursuing just one problem. The Air Force has explained that these maintainers, you know, they had symptoms, but they actually weren't related. I think it's very important that we take a deep look in that, because if they are related, then the high pressure, the upper vest suit isn't the issue. And I think the other big issue, too, is maintainers and pilots have to feel comfortable to come forward and talk about their concerns. Captain Wilson still has pending disciplinary action against him, and I think that's something the Air Force and the Air National Guard has got to back off on, because it creates a culture and environment where these pilots are frightened to come forward and talk. But even since that piece on the news, we've had 9 pilots come forward and say that they're concerned with this aircraft.
Wow. So Lockheed Martin, which is a manufacturer, it now has a second contract to try to fix the planes. And why keep giving contracts to something that might be flawed by someone who might be making flawed planes?
Well, you know, look, I don't know how that contract was awarded. I'll say this. It probably went to whoever was most qualified, knows the plane the best, and it can implement the fix. And I think implementing that fix is the most important thing we can do right now, as well as creating a safe spot for pilots to come forward and talk about their concerns. Let's pull back the disciplinary action against Captain Wilson, and we'll be good going forward. So, you know, look, America owns these aircraft. It's the best fighter in the inventory anywhere in the world. We need it operating at 100% for our national defense posture. So I think it's very important we pursue all avenues agree. And Senator Warner and I are going to continue to stay on this as aggressively as we can until we get resolution.
Congressman Kinzinger is a Republican from Illinois. Nice to see you, sir. Thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Great to see you. Have a good morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Still ahead this morning on Starting